Views and opinions expressed on all radio shows broadcast on KYOK are entirely those of the host, guests, and callers who are entirely responsible for all show content and do not in any way reflect the opinions of KYOK Radio, its sponsors, staff, or management.
When you walk out on that field today, ask yourself this question. What time is it? Game time! What time is it? Game time! What time is it? Game time! What time is it? Let's go! We ready! We ready! We ready! We ready! I'm going to the house! What's up? When I step on the field, I send one message. This is what it feels like. This is what it feels like. Football is getting hit. That's it. It's gonna be football.
Oh man.
What time is it?
Let's get it. Let's get it.
What time is it? Game time. What time is it? Game time. What time is it? Let's hunt now. Let's hunt now. Let's go. Let's hunt. We ready? I'm going to the house. I'm going to the house. We're talking about the Jets like we're talking about the Saints. You know, all this, how we the Miami Heat of football. Yeah. The bottom line is you got to buckle up your chin straps. It's embarrassing. Yeah. Don't disrespect the game like that. There's too much crying from that. He's a man. They can be a hit just like us. He's a man. You already make the big money. He's a man. I'm proud when you step on the field, man. That's who I did. When I step on the field, I send one message. This is what it feels like. Oh, my bad. Your bad don't work in my world. What time is it? Game time. What time is it? Game time. What time is it? Game time. What time is it? Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. We ready? I'm going to the house. I'm going to the house. It's a wrap. Game over.
I know this game is just getting started right here on the lunch break on the legendary KYOK. I'm AJ Jones, and I literally had to just check the message wire to see if anything else has happened since we last got together. Because, man, this weekend right here, this one right here, including today, has just been mind-blowing as we learned of the passing of legendary Hall of Fame coach John Thompson. We're talking about John Thompson, dad, prominently known with Georgetown. So, again, we send our condolences out to the entire basketball world, all of his players, all of his family, and everyone like that. David, I know you've got a lot of thoughts and comments about that. Also, got to go back to the weekend with Chadwick Boseman, man. Gotta go back to that. The one who gave us 42. Great acting in that, and just great sharing his gift with us and the rest of the world, man. That one was heartbreaking.
Cliff Robinson too.
Yeah, I was just getting ready to say, can't forget Cliff Robinson with the prominently with the Portland Trailblazers. So, man, bruh, I'm out of breath, man. Help me.
2020 has been a monster,
man.
And it's for all that it's given to. I mean, there's been a lot of good things to this year, but the hits that we've suffered, particularly it seems with our community,
right?
The people that have been such. I mean, John Lewis, John Thompson, Chadwick Boseman, like these are people who embodied certain things for our community. In more than just, they embodied the things that a lot of just us go through in our regular lives. John Lewis wasn't special before he became special. He was just a kid who wanted to do something, wanted to help make the world better.
Yeah.
Just a kid, nothing special, no amazing gift other than his own resilience and desire to do the right thing.
Yeah.
John Thompson, goes to Providence College and becomes backup for Bill Russell on the Boston Celtics. Could have been nobody. You know what I mean? His basketball career was nondescript.
Right.
And he had kids across this country thinking Georgetown was an HBCU.
Right.
I mean, that was the first college outside of knowing about the University of Michigan, because that's where I was born and that's what you raised under. Georgetown was the first school I knew about. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like everybody my age was like, what's your favorite school? Georgetown. Georgetown.
Yeah.
And then as you get older and you saw him stand up against Prop 48 and he and John Chaney and what the Black Coaches Alliance, started to do for student athletes. I didn't agree with everything he did, but at the same time, when you know the stories of Alonzo Mourning and how he was raised and what he overcame, and how Allen Iverson to this day says that John Thompson saved his life. Right. And the amount of student athletes who graduated with their degrees from Georgetown. Just as an educator and as a person who cared about the future of Black men, John Thompson, and like he said too, the first Black coach to win a national championship. But as he said at the time, he was far from the most qualified. There had been plenty of Black coaches who came before him, like a John McClendon, or Big House Gaines. All these people who never got opportunities on the main stage. John Thompson got the opportunity and he ran with it. And so, I was fortunate enough to meet him once at the Final Four, and he was just as booming and larger than life then, and And even then, I was just like, "Can I get your autograph?" And he was, "Well, where's the pen? Hand me the pen." Just that very urgent, I don't play around with you kind of thing. And it's just that authoritarianism, but also with a lot of compassion and understanding that young men are young men and that they need guidance, but they also need the freedom to grow. Mm-hmm. And he did both of those things for a lot of years. And and then with Chadwick Boseman, it's like, he was the literal. If there was a Black hero or legend between Jackie Robinson, James Brown, like Thurgood Marshall, like if Chadwick Boseman didn't play you, you probably didn't matter that much in life, because he just did all of them. And then Black Panther just changed everything for a lot of people. And my cousin. My cousins in Chicago started the first Wakanda convention after that, and it was the largest Black science. It's for the last 3 years now. It's been the largest Black science and sci-fi convention in the country, and they've been coming in, and they were inspired by that. And it's just that is going to live on forever too. And it's something we didn't have. A Black superhero that crossed all the boundaries and that everybody saw and could take something from.
It's funny that you say that, interesting that you say that, because Chadwick Boseman with that Black Panther role wasn't just a Black superhero. He was a Black superhero that represented being Black. I mean, he was from Wakanda. It was, a nation in Africa. The people were Black. The nation was Black. And it was of a high level, high intelligence, high science, high all of that. And man, it just, great science fiction aside, it encapsulated and just brought together all the dreams, all the hopes, all the visions of what we as Black people, believe we can be, regardless of what anybody thought. And I like the idea that they had it hidden from the world, because there's a lot hidden in us that folks don't even think is there. I wore this shirt into an establishment to get gas today, and I saw how the guy dealt with the person before me, young lady. I saw how he dealt with a young man before me. Got up to me, and I hit him with, "Hey, how you doing? I need da 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 on this pump." Gave him my money, handed it to him, and said, "Hope you have a great day." When I tell you, he still hadn't said a word, but his eyes were fixated on my chest. It's amazing how folks will look at the outside and not appreciate what's on the inside. And when I think about Chad Boseman, when I think about John Thompson, they changed that. You had to respect them for who they were and not just what you saw on the outside.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've had those same experiences, walking into a gas station wearing a Black Lives Matter t-shirt or something, and having people look at you funny. And but Black Panther came along at a time when we needed somebody to be unapologetic in it and just say, and I think it also helped too in that reconnect between American Blacks and African Blacks.
Mm-hmm.
That we have always been disconnected through some measure between our brothers and sisters over there because of we just don't understand each other. We've been raised so differently and apart from each other that there's this level of separatism and just a lack of knowledge anyway of Americans about the continent of Africa and the different cultures within. And it brought back a sense of, let me find out. You know what I mean? Like we did this kind of in the 80s and the early 90s when we went through, with the medallions, the African medallions and the kente cloth and stuff. And some of us learned more than others. And I think Black Panther was another opportunity for people to go back and start saying, what do I know about Africa? What do I understand about the people of Africa? What do I understand that these countries a lot of them are far more advanced than you ever thought. And I think that was important too, is that it was really a touchstone to reconnect with Africa. And that was something that we need to be reminded of every now and then, that, those are our brothers and sisters too. And we still have a bloodline and a connection emotionally and ideologically with a lot of the things that go on there. We need to understand that part of our culture as well.
Hey, man, let me take my first break. We'll come back with more. David Grubb, host of Hard in the Paint, joining me on Media Monday here on the lunch break on the legendary KYOK.
Non-attorney spokesperson representing a team of lawyers who've helped people that have been injured or wronged. Have you been diagnosed with cancer? Are you one of the millions who have taken Zantac or other generic versions of this popular drug to help treat stomach issues? Then pay close attention to this message. The FDA said it detected low levels of a probable cancer-causing chemical known as NDMA in Zantac and other generic forms of this popular drug. They've banned sales and even removed it from the market. If you've been diagnosed with cancer and you've taken Zantac or a generic equivalent, call the legal helpline now. You could receive a free cash award and have your medical expenses covered. And there's no upfront cost to you. They only get paid if you win. So please call now. 800-251-7816. 800-251-7816. 800-251-7816. That's 800-251-7816.
The legendary KYOK 1140 AM and 92.3 FM. The legend continues.
Now is a great time to replace your worn-out windows during the Renewal by Andersen 25-year savings event. Upgrade your home today. Buy 4 windows and get the 5th one free. Plus, get 12 months with no interest, no money down payments. Call now. Get 4 windows and get the 5th one free. Installation and warranty included. Renewal by Andersen takes every CDC-recommended safety precaution to protect your family. For 25 years, people have trusted us for their window replacement needs, and you can too. Call now to learn about our buy 4, get the 5th one free window replacement offer.
800-245-1537. 800-245-1537. 800-245-1537. That's 800-245-1537.
Hi, I'm Larry Scott, host of the Not So Christian and Me Show. Join me Saturdays for great fun, interviews, music, and the latest news surrounding our world today. We are the show that cares to hear your voice and opinion with real conversation in a no judgment zone. So join me Saturdays from 1 to 2 p.m. on the Not So Christian and Me Show, right here on the legendary KYOK Radio, 1140 AM, and the all-new 92.3 FM and KYOKradio.org.
You're having your lunch on the lunch break with KYOK.
All right, y'all, we're back at it right here on the lunch break on the legendary KYOK and the all-new 92.3 FM. I'm AJ Jones. It is our Media Monday. Glad to have David Grubb back. Hey, man, and forgot, we kind of had a little storm go through the area Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. A lot of folks, were dealing with that over the weekend. And I know you dealt with that as well. How did everything turn out with you guys after Hurricane Laura?
Just for us, we were just fortunate. Just rain and some knockdown limbs and stuff. But we were fortunate that it passed to the west. But those folks do need to be. The shame of it is there's so much going on in the country.
Yeah,
that we cannot talk about all the things because it's devastated out there. It's really bad, and folks, and I'm sure Texas has a lot of communities too that were damaged. But yeah, I hope folks pay attention to what has happened and continue to support those communities as they try to rebuild.
Yeah, we got hit kind of hard in the Orange area, and then that one little segment right before you get over into Louisiana, and then hit Calcasieu Parish, Lake Charles. Man, we definitely got to keep them in our prayers and all the areas right by there.
Mm-hmm.
My son, not too far from you, had some, a little light outage for a while and what have you. Had some, some leaves and shingles off the roof and what have you, but nothing in at all in comparison to what happened in the Calcasieu Parish area over in Orange, Texas, and leading up to the deal. But we definitely are center our thoughts, our prayers. And I got a guy that I went to seminary with, or was at the church that I did my internship with, and he and his brother have property in over near Lake Charles, and they were talking about going. I said, hey man, listen, I'm a couple hours away. If I need to get a couple of my boys, we drive over and lend a hand, then just let me know. And I didn't do that for attention. That's what we have to do right now.
Right. Absolutely.
With everything that we got going on, I mean, that's not a Black Lives Matter movement. That's not an election movement. That's a human being that might need help, getting their home together. Who knows what kind of, possible lives that might have been lost in that area. So, we got to be willing to lend that helping hand because people have done it for Houston, man, during the and all that. So we got to be willing to run out and do it whenever needed. So I appreciate you saying that too about, this is the time to get those things done. Any thoughts on Cliff Robinson and what he meant back in the days? That headband.
People forget that's like when people talk about the stretch four and that thing and how it's part. That's one of the originals right there. That dude was doing all of that as a power forward and a center at times. Uncle Cliffy, as they called him, just a versatile, competitive guy. Was able to do it in a lot of different ways, shoot from the outside, play in the post, defend, was a key cog on teams that made it to the finals, and then played for about 17 years, I want to say, in the league by continuing to recharge and reshape himself and became a mentor to a lot of guys in the NBA. I know some of the guys that he impacted, and one of those guys that those are the people that make the league go.
Mm-hmm.
The guys who are professionals, who do their job, who are key members of your team, no matter where they go, they add something. They don't ever take away. And I think that most players in the league aspire to be him because you're not going to be, 99% of guys ain't going to be LeBron James or Russell Westbrook or James Harden, whomever. If you get to be a Cliff Robinson and put in 15, 16, 17 years, make solid –
Todd Malcolm just said he did 20 years.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
So when you put in 20 years,
man,
you've done your job, man. That shows that you knew what you were doing. You took care of yourself. You were a pro. Coaches didn't have a problem with you. You don't stay around in the league for 20 years. Yeah. As your physical skills start to get less, unless you're smart, unless you show up to work every day, and unless you bring the thunder. And that's what Cliff Robinson did.
Absolutely. What's crazy, just one of those little nerdy facts I know. In a court of law, after 20 years, you can be considered an expert in your field. And I think that would be appropriate for Cliff because, like you said, he literally was able to do so many of the things that we see guys doing now, but he was doing it then in an era where you just expected a guy his size to get down on the block, to back somebody down, to be able to play that post game, and Cliff could knock it down from outside. Yep. Cliff, if you needed him to bring it up, he could do it. He had to give it up, kind of quick, but still, he was one of the first guys his size that I saw shooting from the outside, and I was like, what is he doing? I was like, oh, good shot, good shot. And again, like you said, to hear what he meant to a lot of the guys during the game and after the game, because he was not always the main guy on the team at that time. But man, there's something about what we see on TV and what we hear about in the locker room and off the court when a guy has made such an impact on people's lives that they go looking for him for advice, as opposed to, like you said, the James Hardens of the world today and what have you. So, and then to see how many guys came out the other night with headbands on in honor of Cliff Robinson. And it wasn't just us.
No. I mean, like that guy, he did. His legacy lived on. And when you have played over those multiple generations, remember, he started in the late 80s on those great Portland teams that played against the Pistons and the Lakers and Bulls and all this stuff. And he was along all the way through to this generation. I mean, you made it into the early. There are guys who are finishing up their careers who he played with. And it's just, so, I mean, you've touched enough people. Like, there are coaches that played with him. And so I think that respect for his style, the versatility of his game, and then just that competitive stuff, game recognizes game. And those guys are always going to shout out the guys who were real players. And Cliff Robinson was a real one.
Absolutely. Hey, man, we got to take another, and when I say quick break, it'll be a quick one. Want to come back and actually talk about some of those games from the weekend and a little bit more when we come back right here on the lunch break on the legendary KYOK and the all-new 92.3 FM.
He's a holy God. KYOK 1140 AM. The legendary KYOK 92.3 FM. Radio stations in one.
You're home. You're a diabetic. You need supplies, but you don't want to visit the pharmacy. What do? Call US Med for home delivery of your supplies. If you have diabetes and you're worried about going to a crowded pharmacy, pick up the phone in the safety and comfort of your home and let US Med deliver them to you with free shipping. And now if you test your blood sugar 4 more times a day and inject insulin 3 or more times a day, you may qualify to get a new continuous glucose monitor at little or no cost, which may eliminate the pain of pricking your fingers and helps you make smarter diabetes decisions. Plus, we'll send you a 90-day supply and bill your insurance company for you. Get some peace of mind. Call US Med today.
800-417-0851. 800-417-0851. That's 800-417-0851.
I'm going to tell you how you can get real health insurance for as little as $6 a day. Yes, now you can get affordable health insurance for you and your family immediately, starting at just $6 a day. And coverage is guaranteed regardless of your medical condition. That's right, for about $6 a day, you can have guaranteed health insurance. And there's dental, vision, and prescription coverage too. You owe it to yourself and your family to make this free call right now and learn more. There are no deductibles, no waiting period, no contracts, and coverage is guaranteed. Call National Health right now for your risk-free guaranteed health insurance quote starting at just $6 a day. Call now.
800-797-0921. 800-797-0921. 800-797-0921. That's 800-797-0921.
It's the lunch break on KYOK.
All right, y'all, we are back right here on the lunch break on the legendary KYOK and the all-new 92.3 FM. I'm AJ Jones, along with the host of Hard in the Paint, also writes for CrescentCitySports.com. It's none other than our brother David Grubb. Appreciate you joining us here. Big shout-out to Garrick Jones. Man, I had a great interaction with him last week. I tuned in to a couple of their diversity and inclusion trainings. I think there was one on one night, another one on a Thursday night. It was good. And then Sydney Brown, one of the co-owners of the Texas Phoenix Fire. They are the women's champ of the XFFL, the Extreme Female Football League, and appreciate her tuning in as well. David, it would have been nice to see Portland, pull it out over the weekend, given what happened with Cliff Robinson, but LA wouldn't let it be. So LA moves on. Portland, talk about them a little bit. A lot of questions about Melo. He played well, absent, his brother Dame Lillard, who was being checked out and held out of the game. I just saw a report that maybe Melo and the Knicks might be open to reuniting. But give me your thoughts on Portland, where they go from here, and what happens with guys like Melo.
Portland is an interesting question. There's a lot to digest with that team. Have they reached their ceiling with this group? Now, I think Melo wants to come back. I think he's found a home in Portland. He's not going to be subject to too many expectations. And I'm not saying that he would run from those things. I'm just saying you go back to New York in that mess. I just don't see Melo wanting to get involved in that. It's not going to end the way that he would want. In Portland, a basketball town that does not have the same type of animosity towards its ownership, towards its team that the city of New York does right now with the Knicks. I think Portland's the right place for Melo to be appreciated at this stage in his career. The big problem for me is Portland plays with two small guards. Mm-hmm. Damian Lillard is a heart as big as they come. Mm-hmm. But that team is limited with CJ McCollum. Mm-hmm. It's a dude who's back injuries. We know that. Had a fracture in his back during the playoffs, so that certainly hurt him. But if you look at their playoffs, when he's gone and he can be taken away, that's when Portland fails. And it's a lot of it has to do with the fact that CJ's not a great ball handler. His size doesn't allow him to really finish at the rim. He's a guy who needs to come off of screens and have pick and roll. That's why the Blazers run more pick and roll than any other team in the league.
Right.
So I think ultimately for them, and people are saying Terry Stotts' job might be in question. I would say that's a Damian Lillard question. If Lillard says that it's a problem, then I think it's a problem. But I don't think Lillard has a problem with Terry Stotts.
I don't either.
If they can get a full season out of their front court, and I think if you move on from CJ McCollum and they were missing Rodney Hood, they were missing all of their wings. Trevor Ariza would have made a difference for them on the perimeter, absolutely in this series. So I think they need some size in the backcourt, and I think CJ McCollum is your best tool to move on for a team that wants a dependable scorer but not a superstar. And if you're Portland, you're never going to get a top draft pick. So maybe you find a team that has a higher draft pick or that has a veteran that you could get so that they can get some size. But until they do, it's just going to be hard for them to get past the other teams in the West.
It's funny you say that because I go back to not this exact Portland team, but a Portland team that on paper looked like they could give Golden State a run, when Golden State was in their prime. But that backcourt size, Klay Thompson is not a small guard.
No, he's 6'7", 6'8", and about 225. He's not a little dude at all.
Right, and yeah, you can nullify, and I'm not saying as far as productivity goes, but you can basically call it a draw between Dame and Steph, but it's a huge difference between Klay, and no matter how much Dame and CJ would go off, there was always that imbalance when you throw Klay in there, and then you start throwing Draymond in, and then you start throwing in KD and whoever they had at the big at the time, and like you said, it became an imbalance. Great team though, man, dangerous when they're all together and when they're all healthy.
But that never happens. Never happens.
Right.
They've been unhealthy for 3 years in a row. And even last year, them getting to the conference finals, that was a lot of work. It's a lot of – they have to work really hard every series. I thought they were going to beat the Lakers for a while. But, after game one, I was encouraged. Then they just – Zach Collins wasn't available. Carmelo was working too hard on LeBron defensively to get really a lot of offense going. And again, CJ McCollum. And then when you lose Dame Lillard, it was over. That was the end. There was no chance there whatsoever. I think actually Portland got hurt by not having a home court advantage more than the Lakers did. Portland would have been a place that's difficult for the Lakers to go. It always has been. But Portland had never shown really much of a fear of going to LA with this group. So I think, if Portland could have been at home and Dame Lillard is healthy, it's a different series, but it's not. It's over, and we move on.
Before we go on from Portland, how fun was it to watch LeBron dog, I just said his name.
Melo.
Melo, thank you, man. Talk about a CTE moment. How fun was it to watch those two play against each other?
I think it was great because they had never done it before.
Mm-hmm.
And in anything, I think you want to go against your friends. You want to go against the people that you judge yourself against. And I think Melo has always wanted to be seen in that rarefied air that Dwayne and his, you got to think when it's Dwayne, LeBron, CP3, and Melo.
Right.
CP3 and Melo always, and they've talked about trying to play together for years and stuff, and they never got to do it.
Right.
And I think that those two guys probably look at LeBron and Dwayne and are just like, yeah, I know we're all friends. The rings y'all got. Both of y'all got 3. We over here with none.
Right.
So I think, Melo wanted that opportunity to show that he could go straight up. And it's about 5 years too late.
Yeah.
It's a lot like watching the Pacquiao fight with Mayweather. Like, it's too late for it to be great and to matter, but at least they got to do it one time and see each other and be like, yeah, we did this together.
It was good to see Melo step up to it. Melo was like, I ain't backing down. Give me LeBron. And you could see him fighting through picks and what have you to stay on LeBron.
Yep.
And then the play that LeBron made when it got dropped down to Melo, and LeBron immediately shifted to the left because he knew that Melo was going to turn that way and try and get a shot up. And he was able to draw the charge. And then the way they were smiling, going back at each other, it was fun to see. And like you said, late, but still fun to see.
They absolutely, you can tell that it's not fake.
Right.
That those guys love each other. And, people always act like, well, the NBA got soft in that regard. But, we know the time. Isaiah and Magic, kissing each other on the cheek before a game. Mark Aguirre, Magic Johnson, Isaiah Thomas, those guys were a group, just like Jordan and Oakley. And it'd be like players have all, Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain used to eat dinner together every time the night before they played. Every time. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar used to stay in Wilt Chamberlain's New York penthouse whenever he came in town to play the Knicks. So it's not like players have never had these kinds of bonds and relationships. I think it's just that we've never seen them so public. Mm-hmm. And these guys have known each other since they were 16 years old. And there's only a few people in the world who understand what it is to be great at something your entire life, to have people expect you to be great at it all the time. Mm-hmm. And to live in that space of wherever you go, they expect you to win. That's a small group. And to have somebody who understands that and to be your friend, I think that's a thing to cherish. And so I would never, it's funny sometimes to make fun of the banana boat because it's 4 grown men riding along on a banana boat. But ultimately, that's black male love. And those dudes aren't afraid to share it. And you got to be proud of that.
I'm very proud of it. I'm very proud of it, especially given everything going on. The Lakers are now awaiting the winner of the Rockets-Oklahoma City series. The Rockets, kind of flexed their muscles a little bit. They were on. Oklahoma City was off. I still like the young Oklahoma City team, but I feel like the Rockets are probably going to put them away tonight. I don't want to jump ahead. I tell you what, do this. Tell me what you think about Oklahoma City and the Rockets tonight. Let's do that.
I'll never count out Chris Paul. I'm not counting that dude out till he's dead. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, he doesn't have a championship again. We just talked about that, and he's never been never won a conference final. But that dude is the most dogged competitor in the league. I mean, there's just as far as just wanting to go for his and make sure that you have to pull every last ounce of blood out of him on the court before he quits. I'm not gonna put it past him to get a Game 7 out of this. I just can't. I just can't.
Wow. David Grubb, host of Hard in the Paint and writer for CrescentCitySports.com, joining us here on Media Monday on the lunch break. That's strong. I mean, there are, of course, locally here, they've got this one on the books, and they already start talking about the matchup between the Rockets and the Lakers. But, again, I've seen this movie before. the Rockets can win a game by 30 and then lose the next one by 25. I mean, it's the way it goes. So it is not out of the question to think that, like you said, one of the most just toughest competitors in the sport, pound for pound, one of the toughest guys in the sport can will his team to a victory. Just like Oklahoma was missing shots, the Saturday night.
Yep.
Rockets can miss shots. We've seen it, and they can go historically cold. So it could be interesting tonight.
The way the Rockets play lends itself to runs by the other team. It's a natural occurrence whenever, if you shoot 45, 53s a game, and even if you're making a decent clip of those, people forget, like you can look at the box score and it'll say, oh, they hit 17 of 50. That's awesome. That's a lot of points. But if you hit 12 of those 17 in the first half and only 5 of them in the second, you allow teams to make those runs. And that's the thing with the Rockets is, when are they hot? If they are only hot in a certain burst and at the wrong time, they have a tough time stringing together baskets when they need to. They need that rhythm of we're hitting shots, because that's how the other guys get involved. Harden is fine if everybody else is missing, because he was like, well, I'll drive to the hoop. I hope I'll get 2 free throws. Russ is going to do the same thing. If the jump shot ain't there eventually, Russ is just going to say, well, I'm going to just take it into the hole and see what happens.
Yeah.
You do that with PJ Tucker. You can't really do that with Eric Gordon. He's not going to drive to the hole like that. So you have to make sure that if you're Oklahoma City, you are forcing the Rockets to shoot jump shots, and you're not allowing them to get to the line. You're not allowing them to turn you over, because they could kill the Oklahoma City in transition. That's if you allow Houston to get transition. Oklahoma City just doesn't have the speed and quickness to get back and create a problem on the other end.
Yeah, I got to give some love to one of my guys, Cornelius Anthony, CA, who used to play at Texas A&M, played in the league, what have you, football. And he posted, he says, man, when Eric Gordon drives the ball to the basket, good things happen. When he just parks out there and jacks up threes, bad things happen. And I had to tell him, bro, you are dead on it. When Eric is putting pressure on that defense until his 3-point shot comes, he's really, he gets the team going in the right direction.
Yep.
But man, it's almost like when he hits a 3, you can forget about it, because his next 5 shots are going to be from 3, whether he's making them or not.
And he can get. That's been the thing, is I understand he's a dude with a lot of issues with his knees. He's had some difficulty over the years. Contact has not been his friend, but he's still so quick off the dribble when he attacks and goes in a direct line. He doesn't have to change the direction that he used to have, but in a direct line off a screen. And I think that if you give him some screen opportunities, or at least to get him coming off a curl, not a direct pick and roll, but to get him coming off the curl so that he has the option once he catches to either shoot or drive, and still possibly give you a collapse where you can hit Covington or Tucker on the corners, and try to go to the lane and create some free throw opportunities, because Oklahoma City will touch you when you come in the paint. That is not, that shouldn't be a surprise. So, yeah, if Eric Gordon early on, I think it's far more important to get Tucker, Covington, Gordon some easy buckets early, to try to get them free throws, to try to get them open looks from the corner, because I really think for this one, you need Harden to do his best in the final 12 minutes.
Okay.
That would be one where you jump out, because Chris Paul, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, they're going to be pressuring the ball in the fourth. I believe that. I think Chris Paul is going to try to frustrate the first 3, and then in the fourth, you want to force it to be a lot more ISO. He knows that's what James tends to do late, is go to ISO. Yeah. And if you can get the Rockets into ISO situations late, I think if you're Oklahoma City, that's what you want, because your team defense is better than their individual offense.
Yeah. You got a lot of one and dones with that too. Let me ask you this question: how much does Russ Westbrook being back help or hurt? And I'm gonna give you 2 names: Eric Gordon, number 1, and then 2, James Harden.
I think he hurts Eric Gordon more than James Harden, because there are enough opportunities when Harden is going to be off the floor for Russ to do Russ stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But Gordon is such a rhythm guy. And, I think he and Harden had that rhythm because they played together now for what, 3 full seasons, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Now. So, there's a different rhythm. Russ is not used to movement guys.
Mm-hmm.
Where was that guy in Oklahoma City? Who was that guy who came off of screens to shoot? Who was that guy that was a little bit smaller? They never had that.
Right.
They never had a 6'3", 6'4" guy in Oklahoma City who, like an Eric Gordon who has to find spots. He's a lot like a JJ Redick. You want to get him into spots. And that's not where Russ is really proficient at. He's a lot more of I'm going to look for a hole, attack it, and then whatever I see open is what's going to be on the other end of it. Whereas I think Harden has more of a broad floor awareness. He understands, because that's why he ran the point a lot in the fourth quarter for Oklahoma City when he was there. I think his court awareness is wider. It's just that he can be very, very narrowly focused on his own abilities at times.
Man, it's going to be interesting tonight. Let me get your final vote.
Mm-hmm.
Who wins it tonight?
I'm gonna say Oklahoma City. They go to 7. I think it goes 7.
That's amazing to me.
I think it goes 7. This has been the best as far as just animosity series. This one has been the best. I like the fight between these two teams, and there's so much on the line tonight. Think about this. If you go to Game 7 and you're the Rockets, there's always these rumors. There's already rumors about D'Antoni being fired or moving on, even though there are a very limited number of jobs that I think would interest him if he's leaving, if he leaves or if he gets fired. I mean, outside of Brooklyn or what? I mean, because if you're at D'Antoni at 70 years old, are you looking to go to a rebuilder right now? No. So it's like Brooklyn or nothing for him. So, I mean, that's at stake here. The Rock, I think even you could be talking about your GM's job being on the line too.
Yeah, I've been saying.
And this could be the last hurrah for this team. You got $40 million tied up in Russ. You got $40 million tied up in James Harden and a salary cap that's going to decrease next year. This isn't, to me, we talked about this on my pod about the most attractive and unattractive jobs this season. I think the Houston job is not as attractive as people may think.
I agree.
If it becomes available.
Yeah, I agree. We had Chris Gardner from Houston Roundball Review on. He covers the Rockets.
Chris. I've talked to Chris before. Yeah,
good dude, man. Very good dude. And we talked about that. Everybody talking about blowing it up. Well, the 3 that you blow up is Daryl Morey, Mike D'Antoni, and James Harden. Those 3 have been tied together. Those are the 3 that came over with new ownership to Tillman Fertitta. And at one point or another, he's had something with each one of them. The whole thing with Chris Paul and Harden, Fertitta had to pick a side. The thing with China and the tweet and Taiwan and all that, Fertitta wanted to fire D'Antoni then. I mean, not
Morey,
Morey then. And, again, he's not married to Mike D'Antoni. He was the one that decided, I'm not going to extend him. We'll see how it goes, and we'll go from there. And then D'Antoni said, hey, listen, I'm not going to negotiate anymore, and I'm not going to sign another contract. So, but I got to get ready to take a break. Did you see the report where they were saying that Mike D'Antoni was a front runner for the Pelicans job? I guess you didn't see that one.
That's not true. Not true. It's not true. Nobody around here is talking about Mike D'Antoni. Nobody around here. None of my people are talking about Mike D'Antoni.
I need to see if you were going to bring that one up, because that's like, dude, I will pay D'Antoni. Now, I will bring him to y'all right now if that's
he's going to ruin it. You can't. He needs to coach vets. This team is too young for him. This is not the team for him.
Let me take a break. We'll be back with David Grubb right after this on the lunch break on the legendary KYOK.
D'Antoni.
Hey, man, you know that's your dude? And they all do 92.3.
Broken heart.
Did my man Melo wrong twice.
But you don't
How you going to do Melo wrong twice?
Call US Med for home
What
delivery.
did Melo do to you, man?
You have
What did Melo do to him?
going to a crowded pharmacy.
Can't stand that.
in the safety and comfort of your home and let you to you with free shipping. And now if you test your blood sugar 4 more times a day and inject insulin,
I can't stand that dude. I can't stand Mike D'Antoni. If I ever see him, be like, you killed my Knicks.
Which may eliminate the pain of pricking your
brought in Amari Stoudemire when you knew he was washed up.
He's just
I thought you would love that, bro. The thought of you and D'Antoni riding together again.
No, I hope if he comes to New Orleans, I'm gonna be like, man. Every time I see him, I'm like, why Amari Stoudemire? You could have kept David Lee for half that money and gotten the same production. You had raised up David Lee. He was a homegrown product, one of Isaiah's good draft picks. If there's one thing Isaiah can do, he can actually draft really well. He's just not great at running a team. He'd be a great head scout or draft guy because he doesn't draft badly. Camby, David Stoudemire, Tracy McGrady. I mean, come on, David Lee.
Not so Christian.
I think who else? He had
on the legendary
KYOK. Good picks with the Knicks, and then when he got with the Pacers, he had a couple good years.
92.3 FM and KYOK Radio.
You can't coach. Zeke, I love you, but you can't coach, man.
If you or a loved one is a survivor of abuse by Boy Scouts of America representatives as far back as the 1970s,
I sure hope it works out for y'all
to speak
tonight.
up. We'll stand with you and get you financial compensation.
You keep saying Ty Lue, and I'm like, it ain't gonna be Ty Lue either.
$18.5 million in punitive damages in
I don't believe it's gonna be. I want Fizdale.
The Boy Scouts of America.
People saying I want Fizdale because I look like him, and I'm like,
to compensate those injured. Time is limited, and so
He's
are
a
the
good
funds.
dude, good coach.
Call
too.
today.
I think he got a raw deal in Memphis because of bad ownership.
Call all
And
survivors.
he saw the future with that team.
Have a long track record.
He was the saw to shoot threes.
Justice and
Yep.
He's
compensation.
out the league right now if Fizdale hadn't got him to shoot threes.
Call today.
800
Everybody feels the Knicks. Tom Thibodeau about to get a dose of reality that he ain't never seen.
7914
Stand by.
351 7914. That's 800 351 7914.
Hey guys, this is your girl Brandy Nelson, and you are listening to The Lunch Break on KYOK.
Man, we back here on the lunch break on the legendary KYOK and the all-new 92.3 FM. And David, our off-air stuff is as good, if not better, than our on-air stuff, man. Just the thought of you and Mike D'Antoni being able to hang out in those locker rooms after the game or in the media room where y'all are, just kind of going back and forth. I would pay pay-per-view money to see that, bro. I would pay pay-per-view money to see that.
It's a bad match. I mean, there are teams that he can function with, but you see his successes always come with veteran teams. And the Pelicans are not a veteran team. They're not. He cannot give that much freedom to kids who have not young men. Excuse me. I hate demeaning them that way. To young men who have not yet learned what the responsibilities are of the NBA. You can't. Freedom and responsibility come together. I give you more freedom. That means you get more responsibility. And these guys are still learning that. And D'Antoni's going to put in a system that creates a lot of turnovers, which is no different than what Alvin Gentry ran. It's going to score points, but this team's biggest problem is the worst defensive team. This was like the next to last defensive team in the bubble. And then in the regular season, outside of a 36-game stretch, it was one of the worst defensive teams in the NBA total. So I don't think you want to bring in a coach who's going to be focused so much on the tempo. You need somebody who's going to be stern a little bit with these guys. Hold Zion Williamson accountable because Zion was not in shape during the bubble. Zion was not playing defense all season long, was not a rebounder all season long. So he needs to be held accountable. You need to hold Lonzo Ball accountable and say, if you're going to be the point guard, then you better open your mouth and talk when you're on the floor and command these guys in the half court and be able to put them in position. Because if you're watching the great point guards in this league, when it's 15 seconds on the clock, on the shot clock, whether it's John Stockton, Isaiah Thomas, Magic Johnson, Jason Kidd, Tim Hardaway, Chris Paul, if they're a great point guard, they know when and where everybody on that floor needs the ball and how to get them into those positions. And I don't think Lonzo's reached that point yet. And he needs somebody to get in his ear and get on his behind. And I don't think that's D'Antoni. I don't think it would be a guy like Larry Brown who would break him psychologically. You need somebody who's going to be stern, and stern but supportive. And that is a lot of people in the NBA. It's just, you know how coaching is. It's timing, talent, and front office relationship.
Larry Brown's name is not coming up for that New Orleans job, is it?
Like Brown's like 80.
I was just gonna say. So, but I mean, think about it though. Let's daydream for a minute. Just think about Lonzo Ball being the next Steve Nash.
But I don't see Lonzo as Steve Nash. I see him much more as a Jason Kidd type.
Yeah, but we go into those old.
You're talking about Steve is a 50, 40, 90 shooter.
We go into those old Phoenix days. We go into
50,
that
40, 90 shooter. That ain't Lonzo Ball.
Man, this listen. Phoenix had the up-tempo style of run and gun play long before Golden State ever came along. So I'm just
had it before that.
I'm just telling you, man. Y'all, you missing out. You want that.
I don't want that. I think the Pelicans need to be a tough team. They need to utilize their strengths. Lonzo's a very good defensive player. Zion has the physicality to be the kind of intimidator that you need to keep people out of the rim. He has to learn how to do that. And then with Brandon Ingram, if you can teach him, he's already got the edge.
Yeah, I agree.
But he needs to learn a few more things, how to deal. He's not been taught how to be in the post. He needs to learn how to be in the post and use that 6'9" body with the long wingspan to be. You see what Kevin Durant does. It's Kevin Durant has figured out those low post jump shots, that turnaround fadeaway. Once you get that, then it sets up all the other things that he does in the mid range. Because if they can't guard you on the post with a small three, and they have to start sending help, who are you kicking it out to? Now you got your shooter sitting out there for you. You got Zion cutting to the basket, and I think that guys like Jerry Stackhouse, David Fizdale, they're even Nate McMillan. Now that he's free, I would be thinking about those kinds of guys because they build an organization and a structure that's in place that creates order and understanding. And I think a young team needs that more than anything else.
Yeah, I got to tell you that Nate McMillan is one I wouldn't mind seeing here in Houston.
Nate, so good.
I wouldn't mind seeing him in Houston at all. In fact,
look at what he dealt with these 4 years.
Yeah.
He never had his stars available to him in any playoff series.
Yep. It's almost like whoever y'all don't give us them, and if we can't have them, because to me it's going to be Stackhouse is a good name for you guys for New Orleans. Of course, Fizdale. Yeah, I like Fizdale as a coach. I don't know if he'll be there. Ty Lue is that big name that's out there, but I'm gonna tell you the diamond in the rough for me for Houston would be Nate McMillan. Would definitely be Nate McMillan.
Nate McMillan is Ime Udoka's name is out there a lot. Used to be an assistant with the Spurs, played in the NBA as well. So his name is out.
Highly respected in the league, as they like to say.
Everybody's pretty much been told that Becky Hammon's off limits. Like, she may interview for some jobs, but I think that they've pretty much decided in San Antonio. Now it's not public.
Yeah, I want to hear that.
I think she's been pretty much tabbed as the successor in waiting there. So I've heard that just calling her is a waste of time, pretty much. That she I don't think she'll turn down an interview.
Yeah.
But why? If you're the first female coach, you want to be in a situation where you know you're going to be supported. And I think San Antonio knows her enough. She's going to have wherever Popovich decides to do. If he decides to go in the front office as a consultant, R.C. Buford, they're going to support her. And if she's still got some of those same staff members, and the players won't change, so the support would be there for her on the sidelines as well. You go to another place, there's going to be skepticism. There's going to be prove it. And she didn't have to prove that in San Antonio.
She got to watch her back somewhere else. There's going to be somebody trying to sabotage her somewhere else. And like you said, in San Antonio, that won't be the case. What would be interesting is if they keep her and Tim Duncan together. Because
I think Timmy likes being an assistant.
I think so too.
He don't want the responsibilities. I don't think Tim would ever, it was a shock to us who know him that he even took an assistant's job. You never thought he would be a guy who coach. But I think, when I met him and I've been around him since then, what he talks about is he loves teaching big guys how to, he said, he tells himself, he said, you give me one night, I can still put 30 up in this league because guys can't guard the post. Mm-hmm. And he said, I'll be off for the next 2 weeks because my body will be broke up, but I'll do it on one night. And he said, so I think he's enjoying teaching young bigs how to, incorporate some of those elements back into their games. Because I do think the post game is going to come back. It does. It goes in cycles, and you just got to find the right 7 foot, 280-pound kid, 270-pound kid who wants to get his behind in the post and dominate. We thought Joel Embiid might be that guy. He don't want to be that guy. Maybe Zion Williamson can be that guy. I hope he is. But I think that the post game can come back. It just takes the right player.
Yeah, no, I got you, man. Let's see. Let me get Silver Wilkes on real quick, and then we'll come back. I want to talk a little bit more about the other games that are to be played. And then, of course, we got a little NFL news. Jacksonville, what in the world are they doing? They might as well just say we're just come out and say, y'all, we're gonna be the first team to openly tank and be as bad as we can be for whoever they think they want. I guess Trevor Lawrence or whatever. But anyway, let me get Sybil Wilkes on, and we'll be right back with David Grubb, host of Heart and the Pain on the legendary KYOK and the all-new 92.3 FM.
It's Sybil Wilkes with what you need to know today about the coronavirus. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows are expected to hold a call today on coronavirus relief legislation. The two have not spoken since talks imploded weeks ago, and negotiators walked away without a deal intended to bolster the economy and help struggling Americans pay their bills. Just over 1 million Americans applied for unemployment, sign that the coronavirus outbreak continues to threaten jobs. More than 14.5 million people are collecting traditional jobless benefits. 83% of employers say that even after the coronavirus crisis has passed, they plan to put more flexible work policies into place, such as allowing more people to work from home or letting them adjust their schedules. There are at least 5.8 million cases of coronavirus in the U.S., and more than 180,000 people have died. Please visit SybilWilkes.com to subscribe to my free daily newsletter. Be informed, be empowered.
Hey, you want some sports with your lunch? Well, tune in to the legendary KYOK at the lunch break. And I'm Raven Rogers.
All right, we're back here on the lunch break on the legendary KYOK and the all-new 92.3 FM. And Valencia King, how come I don't have a drop from you? Like, I've known you since you were a baby, and I don't have a drop. You know, this is Valencia King.
I don't have a drop.
Host of the Dialogue and Real Talk Sports, and you listening to my unk, AJ, on the lunch break. I just don't understand. I'm just, all of a sudden, I'm in my feelings. What's going on?
I don't have a drop.
Why don't you have a drop?
You never asked me for one.
I want a drop. I'm sorry, that ain't it. That wasn't a question. That was a whine. David, may I have a drop, please?
Indeed, I got the drip, so you can add a drop.
What was crazy was you paused like, I don't know. I'll see.
You just can't give people answers all quick and stuff. Then they think that you're anxious. I'm thirsty. I'm not thirsty.
Man, you are hilarious to me today, brother. Good to have you back, David. We again been thinking about you and lifting you up. And man, I apologize. I tried to send my frat brother a birthday greeting, and I'm so used to texting you that the first name that came up, David, was you. And I just said, yeah, happy birthday. And I knew you looking at like, what's wrong with this dude?
Mm-hmm. Yep, because I was editing last night and I'm like, no. It's like, we did this a few weeks ago, my birthday. That's over.
I know. And I celebrated your birthday, sent you some birthday love. So, Valencia said, I got the drip so you can have the drop. She bust out laughing.
No, you can use that one. You can take it. You take it. I might have to put that. Maybe I'll put that on a shirt in the store. Maybe I'll do that.
Listen, bro, and I'm all about it now. But if I see anything, I kind of like, hey, put this on a shirt for me. Hey, can you put this on a shirt for me? And I got a young lady now, man. She's making it happen. So let me hit the top of the hour, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about some of those games tonight, or we'll get right into the Jacksonville thing. Either or. How you put Leonard Fournette on the street just like that. You trade away Yannick Ngakoue for little of nothing. Again, Jacksonville is one of those teams where they come down harder on the players for little stuff, and they don't do anything that literally taints the credibility of the game when they do stuff like that. So I kind of want to look at that from an objective standpoint. We'll be right back with David Grubb right here on the lunch break on the legendary KYOK and the all-new 92.3 FM. If you want to get in, you want to talk to me and David, you can do it. 281-453-1000, 281-453-1000, or text me 832-403-5005.
The legendary 1140 AM KYOK Conroe and 92.3 FM K222CX Houston.
The views and opinions expressed on all radio shows broadcast on KYOK are entirely those of the host, guests, and callers who are entirely responsible for all show content and do not in any way reflect the opinions of KYOK Radio, its sponsors, staff, or management.
All right, we're back here on the lunch break on the legendary KYOK and the all-new 92.3 FM. It's funny because I'm getting messages. One of my homeboys, man, he's from Forest Park, Ohio. He's like, you ain't never asked me for a drop. Dude, send me a drop, man. I mean, send me a drop. Come on now. It's like...
you start asking for stuff on air. You got to send them the message, man. You can't be out there.
My bad.
Or hurt people's feelings.
I should have known.
Hurt people's feelings.
For all my Ohio family and friends, from all my Louisiana, I'm not going to hit every state that I've lived in, but all my Louisiana family and friends, hit me up with a drop. Okay, I got you. David. All right, so Jacksonville, what they doing, bro? What in the world are we seeing with the Jacksonville Jaguars, and why is it even allowed?
Well, I think Leonard Fournette signed his warrant, his death warrant, when he asked for Cam Newton this summer. That was the end for him.
Why? You got. Hold on. Say it slow. Gardner Minshew,
right,
as your quarterback.
And people keep trying to pump up Gardner Minshew. Go back and look at his numbers and really dissect them. No, he did not throw the ball away a lot and give up interceptions or fumbles. But at the same time, that offense was really bad. And his completion percentage was 27th in the league. This is an NFL where you better be completing around 65% of your passes. That's just the way the league works now. If you're not completing between 63 to 68% anymore, how are you elite? You better at least be over 60.
I'm going to go ahead and throw this eclipse. We are living in a time where being a reality TV show competitor, candidate, star, whatever, makes you seem more palatable than someone who actually has the skill, the experience, the background, the success. It's ridiculous. Gardner Minshew looks like a reality TV show star. And I use the word star loosely. But the numbers don't back it up for the NFL. Yeah, he was fun to watch. Yeah, it was good. He's a great backup right now. He's not it.
And he's got a personality. Sure, that's fine. But
TV.
I don't need my quarterback to be famous. I don't need him to have a cool mustache. None of those things matter in the long run. And I would firmly believe that if a better quarterback came along, Jacksonville would jettison Gardner Minshew in a minute. The only reason they kept him is because Nick Foles was so expensive and bad. Mm-hmm. So to me, I think they looked at Leonard Fournette. His money is about to come up too. I think that hurt him. And he had missed a bunch of games over the early part of his career. So they have that as a knock against him. But I also believe Leonard Fournette is going to get an opportunity with the right team.
Yep.
Who understands what he is as a running back.
Yeah.
Leonard Fournette is a one-cut runner.
Mm-hmm.
He is not a shifty guy. That's not his thing. He is a one-cut, get me downhill, and I will blow people up. That's what he wants to do.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have play action as part of your game, which means you need a decent quarterback,
right?
You can't win with Leonard Fournette. You're not going to pound him into the line 35, 40 times a game. That doesn't suit him and his body style. I think can you imagine Leonard Fournette in Seattle?
I said that because I was just getting ready to go, down the quote unquote landing spots, but I was going to throw Seattle in myself, given, what they picked up in the offseason, Carlos Hyde. Man, I tell you what, whole different ball game. You get a Leonard Fournette in Seattle, whole different ball game.
everything. Changes everything.
Because you got to respect anything and everything Russ Wilson looks like he's going to do. So now you got to that 1 second pause in a linebacker, in a defensive lineman, defensive back can be deadly. And you got to do that with Russ Wilson and with a running back like Leonard Fournette.
You know where else he would be huge? Arizona. Kyler Murray needs a running back badly. And if you gave them Leonard Fournette, along with, your good friend DeAndre Hopkins on the outside, with Kyler Murray back there.
Too soon.
I'm just saying that offense all of a sudden that becomes very interesting to have Leonard Fournette back there, and you can run draws and give him the opportunity to get to that second level against linebackers. I mean, that's a really interesting spot for him. Certainly, I would imagine Washington has interest. And then I would also
Tampa Bay.
I don't think he would want to go there. I don't think he wants to go there. I don't think that's where he would want to go, because I don't think he would feel like he'd get utilized properly.
Okay.
You want a team where you think you're going to get some opportunities to run. And I think Tom Brady, the biggest problem I have with that Tampa offense is that Tom Brady's going to force feed Gronk. Those guys on the outside are not going to get the deep attempts that they got before to utilize their speed.
You're kidding. I mean, if he comes in and Evans and my other guy don't get their looks,
they're going to make noise. And that's what I think is going to be the problem. Those guys are going to wake up and they're going to say, I'm catching these little out routes now, and I'm doing these little 10-yard dink and dunks, and I can beat these guys downfield, but you can't get it to me. You just can't. And that offensive line is not that good either. And they're going to blitz Tom Brady like crazy. Bruce Arians' teams always get blitzed. That offensive line is bad, and Tom Brady does terrible against the blitz. So I am leery.
Evans and Godwin would be, man, I don't even want to think about it. They had a good thing going even when they had Jameis. You mean it'll get
like, have you seen the throws that Jameis is making in Saints camp? Like, have you watched any of the video?
Tell me about it.
He's throwing some balls that certainly Drew Brees can't throw just because of the arm strength. I mean, like Jameis, his arm strength is elite, but there's a placement of the ball that he has that, I mean, he's thrown some tight back shoulder throws on the sideline. And apparently, from all reports, this dude is owning the locker room. They love Jameis. They love his work ethic. The coaches speak highly of him. The players are like, he comes in the huddle and dude's smile is so big and he gets us smiling because he's so excited to be out on the field. And it's just, I think that I had a conversation about this, and it's going to be on the pod today, about how the Saints may end up trying to stash Jameis and not let him play, because if he is the successor to Drew Brees, they want to keep his value down and not end up paying him 18 to 20 million, because you saw Teddy get 14 after the leg injuries and all those things. Jameis is in his physical prime.
Right.
So, he's easily worth 18 to 20 if the Saints vouch for him.
Gotcha.
So I think the Saints may have found a way to fix what was ailing him. And if they have, man, that's a weapon unlike any other.
Yeah, I'm not trying to further divide our country, but hear me when I say I would much rather have Jameis Winston as the future of my favorite team, I'm talking now as a fan, than Taysom Hill. I'm sorry. Taysom Hill, keep doing what you've been doing. We appreciate you. When we bring you in, you run it or you throw it or you do whatever we do with you. We throw it to you. But face of the franchise on every down, I need Jameis. I'll take Jameis every day of the week. And again, that's from my fandom. That's from my fandom. So,
and I will say this too. To this day, still, Dalton Hilliard has more completed passes and touchdowns in the NFL than Taysom Hill. Yeah. He's got 4. Dalton Hilliard had 4 touchdown passes by the time he was 29.
Yeah.
Taysom Hill has 0.
I'm not mad at Taysom Hill for thinking that he's all that. I'm not. And I apologize. We got to hit this break, and I'll overstep it. We'll be right back right after this on the lunch break.
And get the 5th one free. Plus, get 12 months with no interest, no money down, and no payments. Call now. Get 4 windows and get the 5th one free. Installation and warranty. Renewal by Anderson takes every CDC recommended safety precaution to protect your family. For 25 years, window replacement needs, and you can too. Call now. Our buy
go out there and play that slash roll. They already drafted his replacement. So
245-1537. 800
Tommy Stevens did take your job. They'd have found another white boy to take your job.
800-245-1537. That's 800-245-1537.
Taysom just became a daddy too. Man, at least he got that $7 million in the pocket because he ain't gonna get no more big contracts like that.
Serve you safely following
Somebody
all
gonna give it to
CDC
him.
guidelines. Visit renewalbyanderson.com.
He's gonna be the next Tim
details.
Tebow.
Hi, I'm Larry
I mean,
Scott.
he's already better than what Tebow ever was, but that ain't much to say.
I'll give him some money.
Music and the latest news surrounding our world today. We are the show that cares to hear your voice and opinion with real
Somebody's
conversation
gonna give him a lot of
no
money.
judgment zone. So join me Saturdays from 1 to 2 p.m. on the Not So Christian and Me show right here on the legendary KYOK Radio, 1140 AM, and the all-new 92.3 FM and KYOKradio.org.
I am a non-attorney spokesperson representing a team of lawyers who've helped people that have been injured or wronged. Have you been diagnosed with
That's the
cancer?
last one right there.
Are you one of the millions who have taken Zantac or other generic versions of this popular drug to help treat stomach issues? Then pay close attention to this message. The FDA said it detected low levels of a probable cancer-causing chemical known as NDMA in Zantac and other generic forms of this popular drug. They've banned sales and even removed it from the market. If you've been diagnosed with cancer and you've taken Zantac or a generic equivalent, call the legal helpline now. You could receive a free cash award and have your medical expenses covered. And there's no upfront cost to you. They only get paid if you win. So please call now. 800-251-7816. 800-251-7816. 800-251-7816. That's 800-251-7816.
This is Jasmine Highsmith, and you're having a side of sports with your lunch here on the lunch break on the legendary KYOK.
All right, y'all, we're back here on the lunch break on the legendary KYOK and the all-new 92.3 FM. I'm AJ Jones. It is our Media Monday. Been a very, very eventful weekend with the passing of Chadwick Boseman, also the passing of Cliff Robinson, and, of course, today we hear about the passing of legendary Hall of Fame coach John Robinson. Thompson, I'm sorry. Me and Cliff. But anyway, and then everything that went on with the players deciding not to play, then deciding to play, and all that. We're talking a little football right now because, man, we could spend the whole show on any one of those topics right there. So we're talking about we're talking about a little bit of Leonard Fournette, just Jacksonville as a whole. This is the part of the business of football that you lose all credibility when you let an organization behave the way that Jacksonville is behaving, going about their business, and then you want to hold the players to a different standard. You want to, honor your contract and don't hold out. And, you should be happy that you're playing, and making millions of dollars to play when you've got, billionaire owners, making obviously cost-cutting decisions so that you can put yourself in a better position to get your way. It boggles the mind for anyone who has just a little bit of intelligence to look and see and call it what it is. This is nonsense right here.
I mean, we have to look at this on different levels. You affect people's careers when you do this. You shorten people's careers when you put lesser talent on the field on purpose.
Yep.
When you go out there and you are, and we saw this at the beginning of the season with the Miami Dolphins last year, that there were players who said, I'm not going out here and getting hurt because you want to save money.
Right.
And you're going to put me out here to get exposed with guys who are not ready to be on the field. And I think that players have the absolute right to argue that point. The owner's job is to put you in the best possible situation to win, and the coach is supposed to do that as well. But what about the players? Because you're talking about people who have contracts that are based on incentives, which I think is also wrong because they tell you it's a team sport, but then you individualize these incentives, which means that the coach, the media, and the situations have far more impact on what I can make as far as my money goes than my performance in the grand scheme of things. If you judge me just on my numbers, and all these things are what teams are doing to minimize their costs and try to maximize their revenue. And so, yeah, what Jacksonville is doing, what Philly did for all those years in tanking, which has not paid off. I don't care what you say. You cannot go into a period of losing on purpose and think that fans should expect that. That'd be like your favorite restaurant say, we're going to serve really bad food for a month because we're trying to drive out all the bad costs that we have. And then we're going to get some good food for the next group of people who come in here and eat. Well, why is that fair for me? How does that work out for me? I'm paying the same money, but you want me to eat your garbage while you get the good stuff ready for somebody else? If I'm a player on that team and you brought me in, yeah, it's an opportunity, but that's 15 guys or it's 53 guys who are all looking for their own individual opportunity rather than believing they have a chance at team success. And who's going to hold those guys accountable when they lose? Only the fans. The fans are going to be the ones yelling at the players. They're not going to yell at the ownership. They're not going to yell at the coach. They're going to say, why aren't these players better? And that's just not fair when they've not been put in a situation where the intent was to put the best possible players you can find.
Right. And players get a bad rap. Heaven forbid they start playing less than their ability so that they could possibly get forced out and go where they want to go. The players get vilified. The players get called everything but a child of God and some names that we can't even repeat. But an owner or front office decide this is what we're going to do so that we can improve our draft quality. They get called smart. They get called, crafty, and that's a great strategy. And the fans get behind it. Hey, we're gonna suck for luck back in the day. It's wrong. It's bad. It's dumb. It's illogical. And if there's any kind of integrity, we're going to protect the Shield. If there's any type of integrity in the Shield, then the Roger Goodells of the world should be saying something about it.
Yeah, you have to protect the credibility of your product. And that's why people have a problem with the NBA and the NFL is that teams openly tank for players. And organizations that decide that losing is okay typically end up as losing organizations.
Yes.
Show me where a winning franchise said we're okay with losing for a number of years until we get good. Now, we've seen teams say, strategically speaking, we're not going to overspend on players who do not help us get good. And that's a completely different thing. Because as we've seen like in the NBA in Miami, where in those periods where they didn't have a superstar, they said, well, we're just not going to overpay because the market is not perfect for this. We'll be competitive. They've never not been competitive, but they may not have had a star. In the NFL, you cannot do this because it is so dangerous. If your offensive linemen are subpar and your quarterback is taking hits, you could be shaving years off his career. You could be shaving years off your running back's career. You're putting your defense out there and exposing them. And guys, that's more hits, more potential for bad assignments, all those types of things. And I think the leagues have to step in at some point and say, no, this isn't right. You need to run your team like every other team and try to compete to win. That's your job. And these are the things that a league has absolute control over. That you can punish teams for doing this nonsense. If you openly sabotage your roster, no, you cannot have the number one pick. I'm against the draft anyway, but I would take that away at the very least.
Yeah, David Grubb going hard in the paint right here on the lunch break on the legendary KYOK and the all-new 92.3 FM. Quick sidebar, the Texans extended Zach Cunningham, 4-year, $58 million deal. Great, Zach Cunningham, great, leads the team in tackles, what have you. Not mad about that. When are they going to extend Deshaun Watson, and why have they not done it now?
It's a hell of a question. We've been talking about that for a while. It's the Cowboys all over again. Why are you going through this backwards? You get the quarterback number done as fast as you can because they explode so quickly. The highest paid quarterback is typically only the highest paid quarterback for a year.
Right.
Don't let other people set the market, because now that Pat Mahomes has set the market at that level, you're going to be talking. If Lamar Jackson has anything near what he did the first 2 years of his career, he's about to get a big setup and on some money in Baltimore. They're going to pay him a lot of money. It may not be the same kind of years that Pat Mahomes got, but I guarantee you on a per annual basis, it's going to be right there. So you're competing with that. You're competing with some other, there are guys coming up behind, like a Kyler Murray, like what Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be up for an extension. All these guys are good who are going to be asking for big money. And if you don't get Deshaun Watson taken care of, Deshaun does not strike me as the kind of guy who is willing to ask for what he feels he's owed. And I think that you show him that you're not really committed to him and you're not willing to jump out on that ledge and give him his money, he's counting the days till it's time to go.
Yeah, that's the part that I feel like is underneath the scenes, underneath the surface, behind the scenes, if you will, that some of Deshaun's statements about the trade of his friend and best friend and, just some of the mourning that he openly did, if you will. And believe me, some people feel that way. I'm with my guy every day. Now I'm not with my guy. That's like a passing to him. Some are really starting to question whether or not they are setting this up for something other than a contract extension. Like, well, we tried to extend, couldn't get it done, so we had to move on and get everything we could value from it. I tell you right now, man, if that's what this organization does with a young man like Deshaun Watson, who has done nothing but come in here and take this team to another dimension, bruh, they can just burn the whole thing down.
Yeah, I don't think this franchise could take it. Quite frankly, I mean, you'd be talking about how do we move on from this owner? At that point, you'd be trying to talk about how do we get rid of management, because that ain't going to work. That's not going to fly. You can't tell people that the franchise quarterback is being pushed out because you won't pay him. Because you won't pay him? What has he shown you that he's not worth in this league? What are you asking him to do more of? You put a line in front of him and let him take a beating. You sent away all of his best options. You gave away his running backs over and over again. Every time you had one at a decent year, you got rid of them.
Every new season, you're right.
You let the linebacking core go to hell. You let Jadeveon Clowney go because you didn't understand his value.
Well, the team is better from the Clowney and Tunsil trade. Let me do this break real quick. We'll come back and then we'll talk some more stuff, and then we got to get to the back to the NBA and some of the decisions that they made based on social justice. We'll do that next right here on the lunch break on the legendary KYOK and the all-new 92.3 FM.
The legendary KYOK 1140 AM. The legendary KYOK 92.3 FM. 2 radio stations in one.
You're home. You're a diabetic. You need supplies, but you don't want to visit the pharmacy. What do? Call US Med for home delivery of your supplies. If you have diabetes and you're worried about going to a crowded pharmacy, pick up the phone in the safety and comfort of your home and let US Med deliver them to you with free shipping. And now if you test your blood sugar 4 more times a day and inject insulin 3 or more times a day, you may qualify to get a new continuous glucose monitor at little or no cost, which may eliminate the pain of pricking your fingers and helps you make smarter diabetes decisions. Plus, we'll send you a 90-day supply and bill your insurance company for you. Get some peace of mind. Call US Med today.
800-417-0851. 800-417-0851. That's 800-417-0851.
If you or a loved one is a survivor of abuse by Boy Scouts of America representatives as far back as the 1970s, we urge you to speak up. We'll stand with you and get you the help and financial compensation you deserve. A jury in Portland, for example, awarded $18.5 million in punitive damages in one Boy Scout sexual abuse case. The Boy Scouts of America filed for bankruptcy, and funds have been set aside to compensate those injured. Time is limited, and so are the funds. Call today. Don't wait. For free information on how to file your claim, call All Survivors Advocates right now. We have a long track record in helping our clients get the legal justice and compensation they deserve. Please, we are ready to help you. Call today.
800-351-7914. 800-351-7914. 800-351-7914. That's 800-351-7914.
This is Jasmine Highsmith, and you're having a side of sports with your lunch here on the lunch break on the legendary KYOK.
All right, y'all, we're back here on the lunch break on the legendary KYOK and the all-new 92.3 FM. It is our Media Monday. I'm AJ Jones along with David Grubb, host of Hard in the Paint. He also writes for CrescentCitySports.com. Glad to have you back in the Monday chair, brother. We're talking a little bit about the NFL, talking about the Texans, talking about, of course, Jacksonville. We talked even about your Saints and my Saints. And Jameis Winston, well, I sure hope he gets what he deserves there with that organization. Let's go back over to the NBA. Let's talk about the fact that the players walked away on Thursday, but they walked back on Saturday. They got back on the court after deciding to make a statement about the shooting of Jacob Blake in Kenosha, Wisconsin, in the back 7 times by an officer. Obviously, a lot of unrest in the area, but the players said, no, we're not going to just keep doing this. And I thought it was profound. I thought it was profound when Milwaukee didn't come out. I thought it was profound when the other teams followed suit, and the fact that it carried over into other sports, other players, other folks making their deal about it. And then apparently they got on some calls with Michael Jordan. Apparently President Barack Obama had some things involved with it, and they decided to come back out because they felt like that was the best use of their platform to continue to bring about change. Your thoughts on that or feelings about them coming back when they did?
Okay. I struggled with this, and if folks listen to me kind of work through it, go back to Thursday's podcast. It's just me kind of working through it out loud.
Yeah, that was strong, bro. Your podcast on Thursday was strong.
It was hard to just the first thing I thought about was it's clear that people did not take the mental health of these players into consideration when they put them into this bubble, that the NBA did not have enough counselors, people to help them get through this, because that feeling of hopelessness and powerlessness is something that we feel on the outside. We get that here. And so for them, it's even more isolating because you don't have your family, you don't have your friends to be there to kind of go through this with. It's just your NBA family. And as close as those guys are, it's still not the same as having your confidant, the person that you really, really trust, whether it's your spouse or your best friend or whomever, to be there in those moments when you have that self-doubt, when you have that anger, and when you may be talking about people, those are your friends and your family are people who don't have the same economic vested interest in this as other players, which can cloud your own decision-making, I think. I think that it can impact how guys view what they were doing. I was surprised that it was only a day, that they only took a day to think about this. And I was disappointed that the two voices who told them to stay were Michael Jordan and Barack Obama. It's hard not to think it. And I said that on Twitter last week. It's like as soon as you heard that they had talked to Michael Jordan and then that they had decided to end the boycott, that it was just like, yeah. Like you just kind of your mind immediately went back to Republicans buy shoes too. And I hoped that it was going to be something bigger where the NFL, the NBA, that college players, all these people get brought into it. And we say, we're not going to entertain until America starts acting on these issues. And this is what we want. But most importantly, let Black America as a whole tell you what they want and what they need, and listen to all of us. And we are not going to be the cause of distraction. If they had done that, I would have thought about it in a much different way, because I think it could have coalesced into a much larger coalition. Now, again, yeah, it's fantastic. NBA owners going to open their arenas for voting. That they're going to make some commitments to policy changes and criminal justice reform, whatever that means. But have you gotten any closer to getting what you really want and getting the owners to flex their power on your behalf? And I really don't think so. And I worry that in November, should this presidency continue, that the owners will very easily be able to go back to a place where they don't have to respond.
That's chilling. I forget which player it was, came out and said he doesn't know if it was Brown for Boston.
Jaylen Brown.
Jaylen Brown said he doesn't know if the owners are fully committed to social justice issues like they say that they are.
When you say, we gave $300 million, what more can we do? Again, let's talk about that $300 million. That's $1 million per team over 10 years. $1 million, the equivalent to $175 per year for the average American. $175. That's your grocery bill for a week for a regular family, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the owners are giving away per year for social justice.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that alone tells you that the commitment isn't real, because people look at the dollars. You got to look at the percent. How much of their total wealth are you giving? You know what I'm saying? That's the thing. And so if the percentages are this insanely low, and it's only to do these economic development things, which you still have no idea what that actually means.
Right.
I'd rather see these leagues put their might behind policy, talking on Capitol Hill, talking in state legislatures, and using your influence in that regard. If you're just going to do it and throwing some money at some stuff, we've been doing that. It doesn't solve an institutional problem. It doesn't break a machine to give money to small pockets of people doing good things, because it's too overwhelming to overcome with just a little bit of money. That money runs out.
Right. David Grubb, host of Heart in the Paint, writer for CrescentCitySports.com, joining us here on the lunch break. Had a young man that I really respect. He's a police chief, and from what I hear from his officers, he does a phenomenal job on training them up and make sure they go out and do the right thing. Something he said it didn't bother me, it didn't concern me, but it piqued my interest. I think sometimes people feel like the athletes in pro sports, when they protest or call attention to one issue, some kind of way they're responsible for every issue. I've seen people talk about the young man, the little 5-year-old that was shot and killed by a neighbor, and who they caught the very next day, they arrested, and is probably never going to see the light of day if he's not, does not receive the death penalty. And their statement is, well, why didn't they protest for that? And it's like, the players are not the protest department. They're not the department that has to bring attention to every single issue that you as a person thinks is important, because they are protesting because of things that are important to them. And then the other statement is, well, they're doing it on their job, on their company time. Why don't they do that on their own time? Well, their quote unquote employers have given them the latitude to do that. And again, it's not like filling out an application. They've signed contracts, so they've got a slightly different relationship than most 9-to-5 employees do. So I just feel like when you put all this together, it just doesn't feel effective. It feels convoluted. It feels like you said, they're just handing money to somebody on the corner and say, hey, good luck to you. Sorry you're down on your luck. How do we make any of this effective?
Well, first, whenever somebody does that, that's, it's just, those are whataboutisms like Chicago, and they talk about China, and they talk about these things. They don't care about any of those things.
Right.
They don't care about that kid who got killed. They don't care. They don't care about the people getting murdered in Chicago, because if they really cared, they want to know about the reasons and how you got to this point and why these cities are what they are. So they don't want to talk about that. It's easy to just go, this is a Democrat city, and that's why it's doing this. That doesn't examine the problem. And that's what this is really about, is like, use diversionary tactics to get away from the discussion of the actual problem that we're talking about right now. If I'm in a cancer meeting and somebody says, why are we not talking about AIDS? This ain't the time that we're talking about AIDS over at that time. There's enough time to deal with all these problems. We can think about more than one thing at once. But there are plenty enough people out there in this country who can lead a movement for that boy. If all these white folks are so outraged as to why black men are not doing anything about that, well, why aren't they out there? If all these all lives matter folks, why aren't you out there marching and protesting about that death instead of talking about us? Because I know in every major city in this country, black folks are out there talking about the violence in their own communities. You got volunteers out there trying to stop kids from, doing, getting into things. You got interventionary services. You got positive behavior support on schools that are trying to do these things. But unless we address the underlying causes, you can't just keep putting people in to do stopgap work. But they don't want to talk about that.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to say, well, why are you using your platform to talk about something that makes me uncomfortable, rather than to say, can I listen to you and hear what you're talking about, and maybe we can fix that problem? Because you have no interest in fixing the problem if you're not talking about solutions. If all you're talking about is showing me more problems, then you're just trying to overwhelm me in a tidal wave of problems so that I can't think about mine. Well, I got to deal with this one first. If your house is messed up, and you got a broken electrical wire over here, and you have a step that's broken over here, but in your basement it's flooding, you got to stop the flood in the basement before you get to the electricity and to the broken step. And right now, black folk have been underwater for the entire existence of their country, in this country. And we're trying to get out from under that water. So let us breathe. Let us get out from under that. And then we'll talk about the next thing. But stop trying to ask black people to solve all the problems in this world. Because every time it comes down to it, they ask us, well, what's your solution for it? Well, that's not on us to solve the whole world's problems. It's not our job to solve Chinese, problems with state. It's not our job to solve what's going on in the Middle East. It's not our job to solve all those things. Black people got it hard enough just trying to figure out how to stay alive and without losing their sanity. And you trying to tell us that we got to be responsible for everything? Nah, B, it don't work like that.
Yeah. And then the statistics, folks. Well, more people are this happens to more people that look like us than it does
percentages. Again, three times more likely, 4 times more likely. So now your numbers don't mean nothing.
Right. I mean, before we even get to that, though, so you're giving me these numbers. So, okay, hey, don't worry about getting killed in the street because other people are getting killed more than that. I'm supposed to just take that number and go sit down somewhere, and it's just not. We ain't got time for that. That might work with other people in other situations, but it cannot work in this situation.
What's insane about it too is that they will literally act as if, in these situations that it's the onus is so deep on us to keep trying to psychologically try to be the moral compass, for this country. And I don't think that's fair at all. It's so taxing. And that's why you see so many people just saying, I'm tired. And black folks just taking mental breaks because it is absolutely exhausting. And this year, man, it's you watch the stuff every weekend. You watch the police push back on protesters who are trying to change the country for good while ignoring these folks who are trying to insult and destroy those same people.
Right.
And how do you keep getting up every day and saying, well, we got to fight again today? We've been doing this for so long. And for people to make it a point of contention, to make it something that we have to argue about, to make it something that they want to say is political. Man, it's not politics. I can't have that discussion about we have different politics. No, we have a different view on humanity.
That's what it
That ain't
boils
got nothing to do with my vote, man. That has nothing to do with my party, because I don't differentiate between Republican and Democrat races. I don't differentiate between black and white cops. I don't differentiate for people who would do me harm. So don't have me thinking it's political. This is my life. This is the life of my children, my people, and it ain't got nothing to do with my vote. It has everything to do with just decency and humanity, and that's anybody who's trying to politicize it is because they don't view you as a human being.
Did you see the guy, black father? He's got maybe 4, maybe even 5 kids around him, and they're all dressed up in some kind of little plaid shirts. And he's doing an open letter to LeBron James, and he's saying, "Hey, LeBron, you don't speak for me." And of course, he went down that Jay-Z-ism with black fathers in the home, and then he went on the abortions, and went on to the obeying the police officers and not resisting arrest, and yada yada yada. And I don't mean to disrespect him, but I felt led afterwards to write him a letter and say, "Yo, bro, you don't speak for me either. Like you don't have to agree with LeBron, but oh yeah, by the way, the fact that that Jacob Blake had a father who was prevalent and present in his life didn't stop them from shooting in his back 7 times. And last I checked, he wasn't there for an abortion. And last I checked, he wasn't voting liberally versus conservatively. And he had his kids with him, just like you got your kids in this glamour shot. It's like, stop trying to tear everyone down that's trying to make a difference in something that maybe it didn't affect you good. We're glad it's not affecting you. That's one less black family that we have to worry about. But stop tearing black people down that are at least trying to do something for the ones that it is affecting and who don't have a voice big enough to speak for themselves.
And again, who is for extrajudicial killings? If you are for the police being judge, jury, and executioner in the street, then what do we have a legal system for? What are we doing? This, you can't say, well, on the cop side, it's always, well, innocent until presumed guilty. Let's get all the facts. You can't get any facts from a dead man. You can't get any facts from a dead woman. You can't find out what happened from them, from their perspective. You're relying on the words of the police officer. And if you think that that's okay in this country, that extrajudicial killings, that people can be murdered in the streets because of a failure to comply and they have no weapon, right, or being in their home, what about those folks? Or being caught in crossfire from police who are shooting at the wrong house, or be in your house being broken into by a cop and you getting shot, or by all the playing your stereo too loud in the street, all these things, getting shot on your own front lawn because the police don't think you live in your house. Right. Well, where's the respectability then? Where is the compliance with the officer? Where do you get to be a citizen? Where you see these other folks telling police, get off my property. This is private property. When you see other people saying, this is my home, this is my sanctuary, you can't cross this line. When you see people walking into state legislatures, pushing past officers with guns in their hands, and the officer saying, well, we didn't want to escalate a situation. When you see black people who are unarmed holding signs, and you have no problem punching them, macing them, throwing canisters of tear gas at them, man, it tells me that this has nothing to do with compliance. It has nothing to do with fear. It has everything to do with power. And they have the power, and they're going to use the power. Where are the police unions? Police unions ain't supposed to be political, but here they are endorsing candidates.
Hold that thought, David. Hold that thought. Let me take this break. We're coming right back. We'll pick up right there on the lunch break.
What do you do? Call US Med for home delivery of your supplies. If you have diabetes and you're worried about going to a crowded pharmacy, pick up the phone, safety and comfort of your home, and let US Med deliver them to you with free shipping. And now if you test your blood sugar 4 more times a day and inject insulin 3 or more times a day, you may qualify to get a new continuous glucose monitor at little or no cost, which may eliminate the pain of pricking your fingers and helps you make smarter diabetes decisions. Plus, we'll send you a 90-day supply and bill your insurance company for you. Get some peace of mind. Call US Med today.
800-417-0851. 800-417-0851. That's 800-417-0851.
I'm going to tell you how you can get real health insurance for as little as $6 a day. Yes, now you can get affordable health insurance for you and your family immediately, starting at just $6 a day. And coverage is guaranteed regardless of your medical condition. That's right, for about $6 a day, you can have guaranteed health insurance. And there's dental, vision, and prescription coverage too. You owe it to yourself and your family to make this free call right now and learn more. There are no deductibles, no waiting period, no contracts, and coverage is guaranteed. Call National Health right now for your risk-free guaranteed health insurance quote starting at just $6 a day. Call now.
800-797-0921. 800-797-0921. 800-797-0921. That's 800-797-0921. Paid for by GoHealth.
Hi, I'm Larry Scott, host of the Not So Christian and Me Show. Join me Saturdays for great fun, interviews, music, and the latest news surrounding our world today. We are the show that cares to hear your voice and opinion with real conversation in a no judgment zone. So join me Saturdays from 1 to 2 p.m. on the Not So Christian and Me Show, right here on the legendary KYOK Radio, 1140 AM, and the all-new 92.3 FM and KYOKradio.org.
The Lunch Break on the legendary KYOK.
All right, we're back here on the lunch break on the legendary KYOK and the all-new 92.3 FM. I'm AJ Jones. It is Media Monday. Got David Grubb, host of Hard in the Paint, writer for CrescentCitySports.com, joining us as we are again talking about, difficult issues, difficult topics, some which, a lot of people don't like to talk about. I got a lot of comments from Friday's show, and hey, listen, bless you all. And may you find peace and joy and happiness in your own lives. But, on this one right here, between 12 and 2, until the powers that be tell me to do something different, this is what it's going to be. And you're not going to change it. You're not going to set my agenda. You're not going to get me to talk about what you want to talk about. You're welcome to call in like you got some sense, and we can talk about it together. But you're not my program director, so you're not going to program what I have to say. You have to agree with it, but you're not going to quiet it. So, I remind them there's other stations down the dial, so be sure and find them. That being said, you talked about police unions and how they're not supposed to be political. But, Doc, let me tell you something. The whole political landscape changed about 3.5 years ago in a way that I never thought in my lifetime I would see it change. It had the protocol, decorum, respect, rules, you name it, all of those are out the window. And let me say before I say this, I'm an independent. So don't try to label me as a liberal. Certainly don't try to label me as a conservative. I've been on both sides. I've been registered on both sides. But I'm looking at some of my conservative brothers and sisters, and I'm saying to you, boy, I sure hope you have that same energy if you lose this White House in November, because your boy has changed the landscape of the political arena in ways that I don't think that they could handle if somebody else was doing it and they didn't like it.
Well, they accused Obama, of course, of legislating from the Oval Office, and he hasn't signed nearly as many executive orders as the Orange Man. So, but the police union's been out of check for 30, 40 years. I mean, it's just they have more power. We've talked about the sheriff's associations, police unions. There's not much more powerful than those groups. Right. It's like those lobbying interests have. You don't see a lot of blacks in the leadership of those unions. You saw when a New York police union stood up there where there were maybe 2 black cops standing behind those white officers. There's a reason that you have to have the BOP. Because I'm sure Houston has a BOP, Black Organization of Police. Because their interests aren't represented in the regular police unions. So when the police unions have this outsized power to make sure that they get qualified immunity, to make sure that they can't be prosecuted, to make sure that they can use whatever weapons they choose in the street, that they can put people out there with bad records on their in their history. They're fighting for that. They're fighting for the ability to basically be unsupervised. And that has gone on economically for police departments and sheriff's departments as their funding has gone up and up and up. And we have conflagrated police size with crime fighting. And that's the only thing we talk about. We talk about I'm tough on crime means I punish people really hard and I arrest as many people as possible. And that's not being tough on crime. Tough on crime means you eradicate it. Arresting people does not get rid of crime. It's the same thing as you could arrest all the drug users. Tomorrow there's going to be a new one. So what you've done is you just created a system, which we know, again, it keeps your prisons full, it keeps your officers paid, and it keeps people in fear so that those groups can continue to get funding. And the people who are most impacted by the overreach of the police and the people who are least impacted by the overreach of the police are having completely opposite conversations. Because why is it the people who are not getting abused, who are not getting touched by these kinds of crimes, or who are not getting investigated for them in their gated neighborhoods for rape or abuse or drug use or all those things, because they live in these privileged areas? Why are they so scared? Why are they so concerned about the inner cities that they don't live in, that they don't visit, that they don't care about? Because it's easy to think of the police force as a wall keeping people inside a space so that they never get to you. And that's what this is all about. Keeping them from us. And that's what policing is about more than stopping any crime.
Yeah. My picture on my profile right now is I'll agree that looting is not a part of protesting, but I also agree that murder is not a part of arresting. And it's bad policing when you got to shoot a person 7 times in the back. It's bad policing. That's just bad policing. I don't care how you look at it. That's bad policing. There is no
bad living. That's bad living. You don't shoot people in the back in the street. You know what I mean? Like there's a street protocol where you don't shoot people in the back.
I get it. And the fact that folks are trying to justify it. And then, let's not even get into the little 17-year-old savior that Christian groups are raising money for his legal defense and major law firms are talking about handling his defense for free. Went out and killed 2 people and wounded a third and walked across in front of police officers and never said a word. Hey, I just shot some people. They might need attention. Hey, I want to stay here and make sure they're okay. That's why you shouldn't have been able to have a gun. You weren't legally able to have a gun. And those are the reasons why you can't handle the responsibility of the actions of having used a gun like that. I'm sorry.
But that's a whole family thing. His mother drives him across state lines with a legal firearm, that's a felony in and of itself too. These are federal crimes that they committed and they need to be prosecuted for. But I don't care the responsibility. I mean, like this dude, his intent, when you show up that way and they show those pictures of him scrubbing graffiti and stuff and want to make him into a hero of some sort. He didn't go out there. He didn't care about those people. He didn't care about their property. He went there to start some stuff and he found what he was looking for. And so he's not ashamed of what he did. His mother is not ashamed of what he's did. America's not ashamed of what he's did because you see them, you said all across the media, people are boosting this guy up like he's a hero and he's a murderer. And then people say, well, he didn't murder. He murdered white folks who were out there protesting with black people. And so that doesn't make it any different. This was a hate crime. This was a terrorist act, and it should be treated as such. But anything that happens to us, KKK still ain't a terrorist group. So we know what the deal is.
Yeah. Back to the athletes. If they were not playing right now, would the voice be as loud, or would it just be good? I've been done with the NBA. The president called them a political organization. Would it have a bigger impact if they were playing or not?
I think the impact would be bigger if they weren't playing, because I would be working to do something similar as to what was done in, the summit in 1968. That's what I'd be trying to do, to call as many of these athletes, get LeBron James, get Pat Mahomes, get these from every sport, find your prominent leaders, get them together, go to these college groups, go find the leader, the Heisman Trophy candidates and all these guys, and say to them, man, this is our moment in history. It's not supposed to be on us. It isn't fair that it's on us. Mm-hmm. But occasionally in the history of this country, it's been on our black athletes to stand up It shouldn't have been on John Carlos and Tommy Smith.
Mm-hmm,
it shouldn't have been on Jackie Robinson. It shouldn't have been on Joe Louis. But that's how it's been in this country at certain times. Our job as citizens and as other Black folks is to support them in this time and say, if you do that, we got your back. And we're going to be there for you if you're there for us in this moment. And they need to be there for each other. The wealthiest players need to say, look, like this, the Montgomery boys boycott took a year.
Right.
A year.
Yep.
So if these athletes said, we are not going to do anything for a year, we're done. Muhammad, give it all up for 1 year. You will change the world.
Yeah.
You will change the world. And I don't think that they understand that they have that power in this moment, because the conversation always centers around what you can lose. Now let's talk about what you can gain.
Right.
Because if you can gain the freedom of your people, if you can gain justice and equality for your people, and those dollars are never going to matter, because you're going to live in the hearts and minds of this country for ad infinitum.
Yeah. David, we got to leave it there, unfortunately, man. We'll see how things play out tonight. We'll see how things play out when the NFL gets started. I asked Dave Zirin if he thought that would carry over into the NFL. And, of course, the misinformation has already started. I'm seeing posts that players are talking about sitting out because Colin Kaepernick doesn't have a job. It is not about Colin. And the players get that. They understand that.
Colin wouldn't ask them to do that.
Right.
He wouldn't ask them to do that.
What I told on several posts, listen, this is what fake news looks like right here. So, we'll see. We'll see if things happen on the college ranks. We know there was some, a game this past weekend, but hey, listen, we'll see how these things play out. David, tell everybody where they can find you and follow you.
At DM Grubb on Twitter and Instagram, and also HITP with D Grubb on Instagram. And you can visit the website, hitpwithdg.com, and find the podcast on wherever you get your podcasts. We surpassed 3,000 listeners this past week. The growth has just been amazing. And you can also go to Redbubble now. There's more gear there. So you can go to the Redbubble app. You can use your Amazon points and everything there to shop. And there's some really cool items. So we're going to be moving some of the stuff to the store, just more of the athletic stuff to the store, with the fashion stuff to Redbubble. So check it out. There's some really, really cool stuff there. Great.
I got you see you streaming, scrolling across the ticker. Yeah, so there's the website right there. Y'all be sure and check my brother out. And man, proud of you, brother. I mean it. That's why I said on Twitter, let's keep it going. So hopefully, man, folks will keep giving you the love, because like I said, man, Thursday's show was so compelling. I sat out of my show Thursday just to get my head together. But listening to yours, man, it gave me the energy I needed to come back in here on Friday and try and get it going. So, man, keep doing what you're doing. We are 100% behind you, man.
Same, it goes. The love is extended back in the other way, and I missed last week. The emotion was really hard for me. It was a difficult week mentally for me, just going through all of that and kind of taking it in. But to be back with family and to be supported by all the folks with the lunch break, and especially with you, it's a great way to start the week.
Well, man, again, we appreciate it. We're always better when you come by, and we're always with you when you're not. So don't doubt it. Don't think it's strange, man. All right. David Grubb, host of Heart in the Paint. You take care, man. We're gonna get on out of here.
I see y'all on Wednesday.
All right, we'll see you on Wednesday. Kelsey says she's joining us on Wednesday, so we'll see if we can get her in. All right, y'all. As always, let me get out of the way. Let's not be divided. Let's be united. Donnie McClurkin up next with the Donnie McClurkin Show. He'll give you the best in gospel music, latest in the gospel music industry. Donnie does his thing every Monday through Friday from 2 to 3. In the morning, you got Erica Campbell and Griff. Get up morning, 6 a.m. to 9. And then after that, it's Dr. Sylvia Cole and her show as well. She'll be in at that point. Don't forget the Rockets will be in action later on tonight at 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock for your Rockets tonight. And they got a chance to close out the Oklahoma City Thunder. We'll see if they get that done. All right, y'all. As always, not this, definitely this. I love you. Nothing you can do about it except wear your mask, wash your hands 30 seconds or more. I know they say 20, I say 30. And then sanitize everything around you. And give people 6 feet. Be sensitive to people around you. And when you see that racism, you already know what to do. Kill the racism. Not the person, but the racism. Can you do that? All right, y'all. We're all in this together. Let's make it happen. Y'all take care.
Every day.
All right, y'all. Hope y'all enjoyed the show. Always appreciate David Grubb sitting in with us. You know, it's, again, good to have a brother who just as smart, as in tune, as, you know, knowledgeable as he is. And I appreciate him. So y'all keep doing what you're doing. Be safe, be smart, be sensitive. And let's end this thing. Let's make this the last time we have to fight this fight. Can we do that? It takes every one of us. So let's make it happen. All right. Y'all take care. Lord say the same. I'll see y'all tomorrow.